Trump has just announced that he'll have a speech today at 3 p.m., and it could be about the trade war with China. Will he declare more tariffs like in April, sending the market much further down, or will they try and end the chaos and resolve it quickly? This is your Altcoin Buzz News. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when we drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, Altcoin Buzz IO, and as always, the not financial advice, and wish the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Also, make sure to join us for our X Spaces, Tuesday to Friday at 9 a.m. EST, link down below. All right, good morning, guys. So we had that sell-off they were kind of expecting yesterday. We came down here, we took out the stops below $109,000. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to chop around this area until the speech happens. And I wouldn't also be surprised if we came down even a little bit lower when the speech does happen, retest around $107,000, $108,000, chop around here before moving up. Unless it's some amazing news, all of a sudden, I don't expect us to just instantly V-reverse back up. So I do think we are going to chop around here a little bit longer, especially going through the weekend. I think next week we'll start to see a little bit more movement, unless, like I said, there's some amazing news that comes out today. But I highly doubt it's going to be that amazing to set us up immediately. So starting off, the Wall Street Journal reports that China is intentionally crashing the markets to gain leverage over Trump. We also have Trump is to make an announcement today at 3 p.m., which could be about the trade war ongoing with China. Now we have OX Nobler, who shares breaking. An insider just opened a new $600 million short ahead of the Trump speech today. He's literally shorting the entire market, including Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, just like last time, right before the market crashed. So if you guys remember last Friday, when the market crashed, there was a whale in Hyperliquid who shorted the entire market just minutes before Trump announced that he was going to put tariffs on China, and everything went down. And of course, they made about $190 million in profits. And again, today, another insider has opened a $600 million short ahead of Trump's speech. So potentially it could be bad news. This insider's shorting the market and, could be making hundreds of $millions if we go down lower today, which is why I'm not opening any new positions, but it could be a great area to be buying altcoins if we do then go down much more today. So we'll have to see what happens and what the speech is actually about. Now, Trump says the U.S. is in a trade war with China. In this thread, I'll explain why a deal before November 1st looks almost impossible and why it's bad news for stocks and crypto. So China has just played its Trump card, literally, after Beijing announced new restrictions on rare earth metal exports. Trump fired back, threatening 100% tariffs on all Chinese imports starting on November 1st. But here's the catch. China actually holds the stronger hand. China controls a near monopoly on rare earth metals. These aren't just minerals, they're the backbone of AI chips and semiconductors, EV batteries, smartphones, and defense systems. In short, the entire modern tech economy relies on them. And most of the world's processing capacity sits in China. When China limits exports, it hits the US where it hurts the most, technology and defense. Trump can respond with tariffs, but those mainly hurt US consumers and manufacturers, not China. Inflation rises, supply chains tighten, and market sentiment weakens. Why a deal before November 1st is unlikely. Trump can't afford to look weak. China won't cave. This is strategic leverage, not short-term politics. Both sides are locked in a power play. Unless Trump walks back his tariff threat, there's no off-ramp. Now, as for the market view, this isn't just trade noise, it's structural tension. Rare earths power the industries driving the decade's growth of AI, EVs, and chips. If the standoff continues, production risk and supply pressure, short-term bearish for stocks and crypto. China struck first, Trump reacted, neither wants to blink, and between now and November 1st, markets will price in pain before any peace. I also like this. You overstated the rare earth mineral case, but you probably position yourself in shorts, so I get why you overplayed your own hand here to give the most bearish scenario. Counter to that, I also want to share the opposite side here, where Oswald shares why China can't win the great decoupling. The US-China split isn't just inevitable, it's asymmetric. China needs the US way more than the US needs China. Let's break down why the chaos favors the strong and why a 2025 to 2030 window is critical. So he shares that China faces an impossible trilemma: defend the currency, bail out the banks, and maintain social stability. They can pick two, maybe one, the math doesn't lie. $5 to $10 trillion in hidden property losses versus $3 trillion in banking system equity. That's not a solvency problem, that's a physics problem. Beijing spends $1.1 trillion per year just to hide these losses, and that's their entire defense and R&D budget gone. Financial zombies are consuming China from within. China's extend and pretend model of keeping property loans alive, it forces savers to bail out banks and flood the world with cheap exports. But now the world says no, 100% tariffs, EU probes, and India bans. What China needs from the US: dollar access, advanced chips, software stacks, allied markets, food imports, Western R&D, and soft power. What the US needs from China: rare earths for now. Meanwhile, Trump's chaos isn't madness, it's optimal game theory. When you're stronger, you create chaos, and when you're weaker, you need control. Chaos favors the US, and stability favors China. Tariffs, TikTok bans, Greenland jokes, Each random policy forces Beijing to plan for everything. That burns resources, time, and control, the one thing the CCP can't lose. The critical window between 2025 and 2030, where all the countdowns converge. The demographics collapse, Xi succession, and US rare earth independence, Taiwan elections. If China moves on Taiwan, it will be before 2030. And by 2030, the US won't need Chinese minerals, Xi will be 77, China loses millions of workers every year, and their leverage window is closing fast. China's $2.5 trillion in US assets, not leverage, a hostage. We can freeze, inflate away, or buy them back, as we just printed $4 trillion during COVID. They can't touch US assets in China without collapsing their currency. And in a full decoupling scenario, China's currency collapses, depression and unrest, and the US has a short recession, then a reshoring boom. It's asymmetric pain. Campbell's core thesis, China's bleeding out internally, the US dependency vanishes by 2030, and Trump's chaos accelerates the decline. Time plus physics both favors the US. This isn't a pure competition, it's a strong power, slowly choking out a weak one, pretending to be strong. Time favors us, physics doesn't care about 5-year plans, and the investment play, long rare earths, defense, nearshoring, and short China-linked multinationals and zombie assets, the trade of the decade. So I kind of want to show you both sides of the coin, someone who thinks it's completely over for the US and someone who thinks it's completely over for China. And then Mara Nafal shares this video from Scott Bessent, who says, we have things that are more powerful than the rare earth controls that the Chinese want to put on. So he said this.
Really something that they were planning all along. I think that things can de-escalate, that we don't want to have to escalate. We have things that are more powerful than the rare earth export controls that the Chinese want to put on. And sir, to be clear, this is China versus the world. It's not a U.S.-China problem. Good news is that this is IMF week. A lot of my counterpart, or all my counterparts, are here. We're going to be speaking with our European allies, with Australia, with Canada, with India, and the Asian democracies. And we're going to have a fulsome group response to this, because bureaucrats in China cannot manage the supply chain or the manufacturing process for the rest of the world.
What is a fulsome response? What does that mean?
We have lots of levers that we can pull for products that they need that could be equally damaging. We don't want to damage their economy. We don't believe that they want to damage ours, but they are a command and control economy, and they are going to neither command nor control us. And we're going to assert sovereignty.
And lastly, the new Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent proposes extending the US-China tariff pause in exchange for China delaying its rare earth export curbs by 6 months. Rare earths are critical for high-tech industries, and this move aims to ease trade tensions while protecting global supply chains. So, all of this to say, we have to really see what happens at the meeting today, or the speech, I guess, at 3 p.m. There is a huge whale who could be an insider shorting $600 million of the crypto market. So we could be likely seeing a lower prices today before higher, which could be a good long-term opportunity to buy. We are still bullish for Q4, but it does look like these tariff tensions could be sending the market lower before it wants to go higher. I will say, if we go back to April, we had this low. This was all the kind of like the tariff tensions down here. This was all the tariff tensions before we ultimately went back up. So we had this huge sell-off, which was caused by the tariffs. And then we're still continuing down here. I wouldn't be surprised if we chop down here for another week or so before continuing upwards, kind of like we had this before. Once the tariff FUD subsides, we then have a big bull window. And so I don't think it's going to be any different. We'll have something like this, or we'll then continue up higher over the coming months afterwards. But that's it for the video today, guys. Just a short one before Trump's speech later today. And I'll see you guys tomorrow covering what he potentially says.